Alright guys, in section 3, we are still working with our rational numbers, so still working with fractions. In this section, we are going to work with multiplying. So we want to find each product, then write it in simplest form. When you multiply, we are going to multiply across the numerator, multiply across the denominator. So 1 times 4 gives us 4, 2 times 10 gives us 20, but then you must always simplify. Always look for simplest form. So if I have 4 over 20, I know that they're both divisible by 4, which gives us a final answer of 1/5. Final answer is 1/5. Again, we look at the next one. 5 over 12 times 6 over 10. Okay, so we can multiply straight across. 5 times 6 gives us 30. 12 times 10 in our denominator gives us 120. Well, I see that I have 0 over 0, so I'm just going to cross those out, because that means we're dividing by 10. So now I have 3 over 12, both divisible by 3, leaving us with 1/4. Okay, this next one, 3/4 times 8/21. This one, I want to do a little extra work at the beginning instead of trying to simplify at the end. Whenever you have a number in your numerator, that could simplify with a number in your denominator, and it does not have to be the denominator right next to it when we're multiplying. You can simplify at the beginning. So I see 3 and 21 are both divisible by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 21 divided by 3 is 7. I also see I have an 8 and a 4. Both divisible by 4, so 4 becomes 1, 8 becomes 2. Now I have much smaller numbers. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 7 is 7, leaving us with 2 7s. If you simplify at the beginning, double check that you don't have to simplify again at the end. What 2 7 is our simplest form, so there's our answer. Alright, moving on down to A, working with negatives. When you have a negative fraction, you only want your negative with one of your numbers. So typically, we move our negative to our numerator. So again, I'm going to simplify at the beginning with this one because I like working with smaller numbers. I see a 3 is divisible by 3, 9 divisible by 3, so I now have a 1 and a 3. 4 and 7 won't do anything. Double check up and down, 7 and 3, 1 and 4. Okay, so multiply across. 1 times -7 is -7. 4 times 3 is 12. So -7/12. I still have my negative in my numerator. I could have moved it out front so that the whole fraction was negative. Or you could also have it in your denominator. As long as there's only one negative, you are correct. Alright, moving on to our next one. I see a 9 and a 12. They're both divisible by 3. So 9 becomes 3. I'm going to go ahead and make that a -3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now I'm going to show you on this one how sometimes you could simplify at the beginning and at the end. If I multiply it straight across, we get -3 times 2 is -6. Over 4 times 3 is 12. Now this is why we always double check at the end. I see a 6 and a 12. They're both divisible by 6. So -6 divided by 6 is -1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So final answer of 1/2. Alright, so at this point you guys have seen where we multiply straight across at the beginning and then simplify at the end. A couple examples of that. Then you saw where we simplified at the beginning and ended up not needing to simplify at the end. And then this last one we did a little bit of both. Simplify at the beginning and simplify at the end. Always double check that your final answer is fully simplified, otherwise you will lose credit. Alright, moving down to B. 2 1/3 times 2 5/7. I cannot multiply as it is right now. First, we need to change these into improper fractions. So we multiply, then add, in case if you can't remember that. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so 7/3. Times, same thing, multiply, then add. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 5 is 19 over 7. I know right now I do not want to take 7 times 19, even though I have a calculator available. So I see a 7 in my numerator, 7 in my denominator. They're now both 1s. 1 times 19 is 19. 3 times 1 is 3. We do not want to leave it as an improper fraction. So 3 goes into 9 6 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 19 minus 18 gives us a remainder of 1. And keep your denominator the same. So 6 and 1/3. Write in one more like that. Again, multiply, then add. So 3 and 3/8 becomes 24 plus 3 is 27 over 8 times, multiply, then add. 2 and 1/3 becomes 6 and 1 gives us 7/3. Again, I want to simplify at the beginning because I see I have some larger numbers. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 27 divided by 3 is 9. 9 times 7 is 63. Over 8 times 1 is 8. Now 8 goes into 63 7 times. So my whole number is 7. 7 times 8 is 56. 63 minus 56 is a remainder of 7. So 7 and 7/8. Okay, so I just threw a whole bunch of examples at you. You guys will have lots of chances to practice this. So we move along with our notes. So we want to evaluate 1/2 times A times B if A equals 6/7 and B equals -4/9. Write in simplest form. Again, evaluating, that means we're solving. That means we must show our substitution first. So 1/2 times, remember this is multiplication, 6/7 times, I'm going to go ahead and move my negative into my numerator with the 4. Now you can go ahead and multiply all the way across. We have 3 numbers this time. We could simplify some. I think you guys know at this point I like to simplify some first. So I see a 2 and a 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Now at this point, I could simplify the 3 again, because I see a 9 over here. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now at this point, I've got a couple simplifications already, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply and check at the end. So 1 times -4 is -4, over 1 times 7 times 3 is 21. And -4 over 21 does not reduce. So our final answer is -4 over 21. Okay, another example of this. Go ahead and substitute in first. So 3/4 times x is 14 over 15. Z is -3 over 7. We've got a little bit of extraneous information here. We did not need the y in this case. Again, I'm seeing some larger numbers. I want to simplify as much as I can. I see here a 14 and a 7, so I'm going to jump to that first. You don't always have to start with the first two. So 14 divided by 7 is 2. 7 divided by 7 is 1. I see I have a 3 and a 15, so 3 divided by 3 is 1. 15 divided by 3 is 5. I'm going to go ahead and multiply across at this point. So 1 times 2 times -3 gives us -6 over 4 times 5 times 1 is 20. Now we double check. 6 and 20, they're both even, so we know they're divisible by 2. So -6 divided by 2 is -3, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. -3 over 10 does not reduce, so there's our final answer. Remember guys, you can reduce in more than one step. You can reduce at any point. You've seen a couple different versions of this at this point. Just make sure your final answer is always fully reduced. All right, one more to do together. Lewis typically eats 4 1/4 ounces of fruit each day. Today he ate triple that usual amount. How many ounces of fruit did Lewis eat today? Show your work. Okay, so 4 1/4 we are tripling it. Triple means times 3. So 4 1/4 times 3. We're going to go ahead and change this into an improper fraction. So 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17 over 4 times, I'm going to rewrite 3 as a fraction, so times 3 over 1. Now there is no simplifying on this one, just going to have to multiply straight across. So I'm going to kind of follow the arrows here, since we didn't have a lot of space. 17 times 3 is 51. 4 times 1 is 4. They don't simplify, like we can't divide by 2, we can't divide by 4, etc., etc. However, we never leave them as an improper fraction, especially since it's a word problem. I know that 4 goes into 51 12 times. 4 times 4 is 48. So then 51 minus 48 gives us a remainder of 3. So 12 3/4 ounces must have that label since it's a word problem. Alright, so last one we are doing together. Now there's a couple here for you to try. So what's the product of negative 3.5 times 5 and 5/6 in simplest form? And what is the value of 3x minus 12y if x equals 2/9 and y equals 1/6? Okay, so they're already in the notes for you. You just have to actually solve them out.